think it's important to review some of the principles of happy living. So these are things that you know. In spiritual classes, basically, we just review. We review things that you've always known. And when I was talking about my blog, if you go to my website, joyoflifeorganization.com, up on top there's an icon for a blog. So it's joyoflifeorganization.com. If you click on the blog, spiritual blog button, there are 82 lessons. What I encourage you to do is, if you enjoy this weekend, form a little group in Dallas, and my organization will support you. Come and meditate with my voice once or twice a week. And then choose one lesson from the blog, one lesson a day, and live. The blog, again, is this kind of talking. It's very simple talking. It's about the basics of life. But then you open up one piece of writing a day, and you live it. And then you get together during the meditation evening and ask yourself, how did you do with that lesson? They're written as casual pieces of writing, but you can turn it into a lesson. Like, do I smile enough or not? Do I always buy the sweater for my sister, or can I buy myself a gift during the day? Some of you have a really tough time. You can buy for your sister, but you have a really tough time buying for yourself. So then if we raise the question, how come you can't first buy for yourself? Then that question will make you grow. It'll make you think, can I change my 5 degrees? So what's a happy life? Well, you can sleep well, you have peace of mind, you have love in your life, you have enough money in the bank, because I definitely think the money is a necessary part of your wholesome living. So pay attention to it. Unfortunately, the world system demands the dollar bill. Maybe one day we'll go to a different system. Right now, that piece of paper will buy you some freedom. So don't ignore it. Money, peace of mind, some love. The other one is, do you enjoy your life direction? Do you have a life purpose? Do you enjoy getting up in the morning and doing whatever you're doing? Now, that one is fascinating because each person has a different dharma. Dharma spelled D-H-A-R-M-A. Dharma means the optimal right direction for you. And you'll be amazed to know how different each one is. Everybody has a different wish. This is what really moves me these days. You know, I'll be riding the subway and I'll look at all these faces and I say, my God, every one of these people has a wish. And if that wish is not fulfilled, they're going to have their heart broken. And then each wish is different from the other one. It's just this kaleidoscope of different things. So, love, health, wealth, peace of mind, happiness. If you don't end your life with happiness, you've basically lost it. So we've got very powerful, very wealthy people who apparently have all the resources, but they're not happy. So if you take your last exhalation unhappy, then you've lost this game. Why do I call it a game? The ancient book, the Standakarika, says, you came from a pulse. That's the movement of God, a pulse. And then that pulse starts to divide itself into your atoms, molecules, and cells, and then you become a person. You're going to go back to that pulse, you can be sure. With that last exhalation, you go back to the pulse. When you go to that pulse, can you go through your picture album of life and see many happy pictures? If you can't, you've lost the game. It's a game because you're going to go back to that pulse. So in body form, your challenge is to have a happy picture album. The only way to maintain lots of happiness is for you to constantly step into the unknowns so that you don't fall into what we call the conditioned mind. The human mind becomes easily conditioned. In other words, if you have strawberry jam 5 days in a row, on the 6th day, your subconscious mind is going to demand strawberry jam. There's nothing wrong with it, you can love it, but you're becoming habituated. So then the habitual mind starts to make you depressed. Why? Because the first law of nature is that in every second, everything is changing. Change is a law of nature. If you just have strawberry jam, you're breaking that law of nature. Because everything's changing. You can't even hold on to your memories for too long. They'll depress you. If you're living by memory, then you're not here in the moment, and that will depress you. That's a hard one, because some of you have, like us Iranians, we had the Iranian Revolution in '79, and we had some incredible memories, and they were wiped out in 9 months. So the challenge after the revolution for my generation was to see, okay, well, how do I live in New York City now? I'm not in Tehran anymore. So it's a big challenge, because many Iranians remained depressed for 5-6 years after the revolution. In Moscow, when the Tsar was overthrown, a lot of these big army generals went to Paris and became hotel doormen. They would wear their Cossack military uniforms and open doors for people in the hotel. How do you deal with something like that? You used to be the leader of a big battalion, so you can't hang on to memories. Your happiest state is to be in the moment. And of course, I give you the greatest secret to happiness. Everything goes through your mind. So if you say, New Year's Eve depresses me, if we get it to your mind, you may realize that, well, your uncle used to be an alcoholic and he drank especially heavily during Christmas season, and that when you look at Christmas and New Year's, you're being reminded of your uncle. That's something that's in your subconscious mind. So then, the reason you hate New Year's Eve is the memory of the uncle. New Year's Eve doesn't even exist. If you're a cave woman, there is no New Year's Eve. You can pick any evening and make it New Year's Eve. All these things are mind constructs. Like in New York, where I lived 12 years, people insisted on having a great, wild time on New Year's Eve. But when you're a yogi, you pick Sunday 8 days after New Year's Eve and say, oh, I think I'll make this New Year's Eve. It really doesn't make any difference. The reason is, everything goes through the filter of your mind. The Kennedy family may not like coming to Dallas, but you may have fallen in love in Dallas when you were 14. For you, Dallas is a different Dallas than John F. Kennedy's daughter. I don't know about her, I'm just saying. Dallas doesn't exist, it only exists in your mind. Why am I telling you all this? If you follow this advice, you really become a master of your life. Realize that everything goes through your mind. So, if you change your way of looking at something, that experience will change. It's as simple as that. In other words, events have no meaning, really. It's how you interpret the event. Interpretation of the event makes the event. So if you fell in love with Dallas, if you fell in love in Dallas, then you're going to be in love with Dallas. If they shot your father in Dallas, you're not going to like Dallas. Dallas doesn't exist. It all goes through your mind. The first foundation of happiness, do you know yourself? So I'll ask some questions and pause purposely for 5 seconds to see if you have some answers. What are your top 3 priorities in life? What are some values holding up your personality? What are some core values that you have that you would not sell for $100 million? 3 of them. I'm going to pause. Third, what are 3 God-given talents that you had as a child that your classmates didn't have? Another one. We asked this question yesterday. What are some negative melodramas that you keep having in your life? Like relationships keep breaking up. You keep running out of money. You keep switching cities. You keep switching jobs. It's a drama. Can you pinpoint to your drama? Okay, so now that I've asked some questions, why did I ask these questions? I want to know if you know yourself and if you have these answers instantly. So I'll go around the room. Do you know one of your life priorities?
Came to mind was to be joyful.
It's a priority. You're willing to work for it. Okay. What is your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Sarah, what is one value that you would not overstep even for $100 million?
Loyalty
Loyalty.
to friends and family.
Okay. So you're sure of that. You have it. Okay. All right. Has anybody identified one of their dramas?
I laughed yesterday because I identified with 5 of the 6 that you named.
Okay.
So, yeah, for me, it's I can be general or I can be super specific. Which is a more
The specific I want to ask at lunchtime.
okay. The general one is I continue to search for the job, the career, the work that will give me a sense of both having meaning, but also being profitable. And I can't ever seem to get those two things to align. So I hop back and forth between not-for-profit work where I'm broke and miserable, and corporate work where I have resources and partly miserable but not completely. So it's this push and pull of that's actually both money and career in the same one.
And what's your relationship with money in general?
I have awesome cash flow and even awesomer cash outflow.
So, technically speaking, you don't have a great relationship with money.
I don't have a great relationship with money, but I have a lot of money cut through my life.
Right.
Yeah, it's just once it gets there, I don't either. I do a lot of different things with it. That some of them are good, some of them are selfish.
So the first foundation of happiness is knowing yourself. I want to ask all of you to ask yourselves if you have an upper limit problem. An upper limit problem is when everything's going perfectly well, something inside you is sabotaging. So in 1 week, the love of your life shows up and says hello. You win the lottery. You have a vision of Christ directly in the same week. You get a promotion. Everything's perfectly fine. Question is, how many of you would say, thank you? Of course. Most people panic when too many good things happen. So then, if you make a lot of money, it slips in from between your fingers, slips out, then you're either copying somebody who was like that when you were growing up, or you may think that money is dirty, or that rich people are evil, or your sense of self-deservedness kind of tears. See, for you to hold everything, you have some money, lots of love, a career that you love, you have health, you love the house that you live in, all of it together. Will there be some panic and unconscious self-sabotage? Is there anybody in this room that thinks they have an upper limit problem? In other words, you're now thinking back to a particular period when everything started going really well. And did you do something to trick yourself? You want to give us the example?
Oh, I can't think of one.
Why are you laughing?
Because I can't think of anything, but it sounds like something I have done.
Everybody has one. In other words, no matter how lovely you feel about yourself, if we take up the joy level, if we take it up enough, at some point you may panic. Why me? You would have to have supreme connection with your soul and natural essence, not to panic in any way. It's like, yes, I know I'm lovable, so this good luck is coming my way.
So this is what happened. I ended up getting the job I wanted, and everything was just working out for me as far as the place I wanted, or my family relationship was going really well. But in the back of my head, I constantly think that something bad is about to happen because too many good things are going on. So I'm constantly waiting for that, something to come in and destroy whatever good is happening.
Actually, I don't know if your generation knows the same, but in our mutual culture, there's a saying that if you laugh too much, the tears will follow the laughter. This is an actual popular saying in our mutual culture. So be careful not to laugh too much because the tears will be following. So you can really scare a child with this saying. So then if they've heard the saying, later when they're 27, if they're too happy, they start to look for the disaster. When is the next shoe going to fall? Anyways, I asked you some questions, because first foundation of happiness, if you don't know yourself, you're not going to be happy. Why? Because life presents certain decision-making junctions. At those junctions, you need to know who you are. At the junction of marriage, divorce, immigration, changing careers, changing cities, you need to know yourself. And actually, very few people know themselves. In that 30-day Odyssey program that we give you online, there are questions. Here's another question to see if you know yourself. I asked the question, everything you've ever done in your life has been based on one particular intention. What is that intention? This is a very tough question. Like, I found mine out, and it's very absurd. Inside me, there's a little 7-year-old boy who wants to talk to the world, and he hopes that his voice will change some lives for the better. So everything I've done throughout my life is to, not in a show-offish way, to broadcast this voice, hoping that some lives will change. In other words, I was able to take this down to one drop and realize what was the motive behind everything I've ever done in my life. So one of you may raise your hand and say, Kambiz, I just figured it out. Everything I've ever done is for love. Without love, I'm going to die. Is there anybody in the room like that? Like serving others? Yeah? Okay. So does that ring true to you? That the main reason you get up in the mornings, in other words, if we took love away from the world, you would just shrivel up. Okay. Anybody have an idea? It's like the main underlying motive. You can say power, you can say money, you can say beauty, something. Anybody else know what has driven you all your life?
It's been to help people.
To help.
And that's what my career has been. And I've noticed basically since junior high school. And that's what I've done with my career. I've just always known that's what I was supposed to do. Never questioned it.
And it gives you a lot, obviously, or else you wouldn't be doing it. So, yes?
But first the knowledge, spirituality is mostly.
Spiritual knowledge or any knowledge?
Mostly spiritual, but any knowledge. It's just that, looking back to history and how evolution, all that.
Good. So this was a very tough question because I'm asking you to take it down to the one topic. Because you've done so many things in your life, but when I ask, what is the one underlying motive? These are the kind of questions we ask in the Odyssey, and it gives some people headaches. I've done so many things. But you have to get to know yourself. If I say, what are the top 3 priorities in your life? You say, my child, my health, my wealth. You should be clear about that. Then it makes your life a lot easier, and you're happy. Let's go on to other foundations of happiness. Dharma. Dharma is an activity that gives you the following feelings. Listen to this. You lose track of time. When you're engaged in that activity, you feel like a kinder person. It brings out a better aspect. Another, you actually look more beautiful or handsome when you're engaged in that activity. This is really interesting. It almost seems superficial, but when you're in your Dharma, you actually start to look better because you glow. I love writing. I've loved it since the second grade of elementary school. One day my wife turned to me and said, you look handsome when you write. And I don't think she meant it cosmetically. It's just like, when I'm with that piece of paper, I'm so much with that little boy that something comes out in my face. So you may have that when you're riding your mountain bike in the forest. Baking, it doesn't matter. If you find your Dharma, it actually changes your looks while you're engaged in that activity. You become kinder. You lose track of time. Another question, which activity drives away fear and anxiety? Some people say, when I've got that boom and I'm painting, I don't care about the international news, the recession, nothing. Not even old age. I'm just painting. Some people say it's the sales process. Here's the process of sales. The client has these needs, and your product has these features. If you can listen hard enough and fit your product's features into the client's needs, then you have an action. So at some point way back, I got into the sales process. I was in the computer industry way back. And the sales process is fascinating. It requires psychology, it requires strong communication, it requires a big ear so you're listening hard. It's a very fascinating science, sales. Real sales at the level of an expert. I heard of a salesman who sits next to the chairman of Boeing. This guy can go down to Dubai and sell 70 Boeing 777s to the Sheikh of Dubai. Now, theoretically, he's a salesman, but he changes the fortune of Boeing Corporation with every contract. So he sits right next to the chairman. He has no title other than salesman. But 30 777s changes the entire price stock of Boeing. So this guy knows how to talk to a sheikh or to some president in Africa. They often bribe too. That's part of it. It's the science of the sale. So Dharma and other characteristics. No matter how many times you fall down in that activity, you get up one more time. You are so stubborn. On this one activity, you just don't give up. The other is, it's the kind of activity that forces you to render very, very good quality. Somebody took me to a city, theoretically having planned my trip. I went over there and it was like 1 to 2 people. And I had spent $2,800 to get there. So then, at the end, she says, it's amazing. The way you talk to one person is the way you talk to 11 people or 70 people. In other words, I keep doing what I'm doing. So like once I got over landing in that city and realized there's one person, once I got over that, it took like a few minutes. And then I started talking to the person, the same one I'm talking to. It doesn't matter because I love the science. So if you love the architecture, you're just going to sit there and make your plans, draw your plans. In other words, you insist on delivering great quality. That's a sign of being in your Dharma. Does anybody, having heard the symptoms of Dharma, does anybody here know their Dharma? That one activity that has all these qualities. Time disappears, anxiety disappears, You're not in the future, you're not in the past, you're looking more beautiful while you're doing it, you're a better person while you're doing it, no fear and anxiety, great quality. Every time you fall down, you get up one more time. Yes? What is it?
It's funny, but when I do housework, like a lot of times whenever I'm really, I don't know what I'm doing, everything is going crazy in my head, I tend to tell my mom, just leave everything on me, and I don't know, I clean, I cook, I do all the things that my mommy does, and they see that in my face in the house, and whenever I'm really, sometimes when I'm forced to, or because the parents are not around and I have to take care of the family, my food doesn't come out as good, or the cleaning doesn't come out as clean because I was forced to do it. But a lot of times whenever I know I've reached that limit and I can't, I have to just do something. And when I cook or when I clean, it makes me feel good, and it is noticeable through my family, they can tell there's something different. So.
Is it because you value a beautiful home, or you want to serve the people that you're cooking for?
I like serving people a lot. This is what I've been doing ever since I remember. I don't know if it's a problem or it's something good about me, but I always put people in front of me. I always take care of them before I take care of myself. And it's not only my family, anybody around me, I'm always that mother figure to everybody.
Okay. Have you ever asked yourself the following question? How much is my love worth? So this is a very rare human being. I think a lot of people, if they knew her, they would chase after her because she could really make somebody happy. But then I want all of you to ask yourself a question. How much is my heart worth? Most people, when they're dealing with romance, have never asked themselves, how much is my love worth? I can tell you at the age of 61, I can finally say this in a very relaxed way, that my friendship is worth a lot. Why? Because anybody that I befriend starts to learn a lot, and lives change. Within 6 months of getting close to me, your lives will change in big, big ways. I know this because I've seen it for 25 years. So I'm not showing off. I'm like the surgeon who's taken out 500 appendix. So then if that person says, I know an appendicitis operation, he's not showing off. He's taken out 5,000. So I can tell you, at this point in my life, I know that my friendship is worth a lot. So that's different than showing off. So then Adela has to ask herself, how much is my love worth? It's not a business transaction, but if you don't know how much your heart is worth, you may waste it. For example, I've seen with women, because women have a motherly inclination many times, I've seen women try to fix a guy by just giving love. So they spend 7 years with a guy who doesn't see. He's not evil, he just doesn't see love. And because you're a woman, you have that inclination to heal through love. But you don't realize that he's not seen. So if you give 7 years to some guy who doesn't see, then you don't know how much your love is worth. Like Satya Sai Baba said to me, he said, don't ever waste your time with a fool. So that really shocked me because this guy was a saint in all of southern India, all of the world really. So I said, Baba, how can you call people fools? He said, just what I told him. He said, you may go and put your heart out in a class and they're making fun of you. They're not listening. So you have a finite life. You have to find the best students and give them all you've got. Because for me, the prize is to see you go up like this. That's my prize. So then if I waste my time with a fool, this is energy coming out. Day in, day out. So I happen to know that I have a rare energy. This kind of person is very rare. Do you know or you don't know? You see, your natural inclination is very rare.
I don't think about it, I just...
You are.
doing that.
Yeah. But hopefully, what you should just know, you don't need to think about it, but you should know that if I marry a man, that home is going to be beautiful, the food is going to be nourishing, there's going to be supreme love in that. If you don't know that, you're going to pick the wrong kind of guy. So see, this is a touchy conversation because it may sound like love is some sort of business transaction. It's not. You must know how much you're worth. Anything beneath that is just low self-esteem, low self-confidence. Anybody else know their dharma? Architecture. Is it the graphics part, the actual drawing up of the plan?
Need more thinking or dreaming every day about the space and whole social interaction and those spaces that we create. There's so many layers, so it's very fulfilling.
So if you drive from here to Wyoming, will your mind often go to space issues and like do you look around for buildings or spaces? I have a student who dreams up notes. He's a pianist. And he says ever since I was 7, these notes would fly by. I have a very strange mind. I always make up 5-minute movies. It's so crazy. I'll be in a park and I'll see a short version of a made-up Hollywood movie. They just keep coming to me. So each one of our minds is unique in that sense.
Let me ask, this, that just struck a thought, and I don't know if this is a dharma or
Tell us
not.
your name too.
Karen.
Karen.
Making connections to things that other people don't see connected. So, I mean, I love when I can make synergies happen.
So it's a huge talent, and there are people making millions. There are people who are deal makers, and all they do, I have a student like that. He brings the funding from one side, the management from another side, and a Hong Kong buyer from a third side. He has dinner with them, and all of a sudden we have a solar energy company over one dinner. All he does is bring the three together.
So is that like a dharma?
Yes, yeah. You know, a dharma doesn't have to be something that's on a resume. Your dharma may be giving hope to old ladies. Like, for some reason you like visiting old people's homes on Sundays. And you go to this old woman and say, God, your hair looks so beautiful. And to you, it's the most natural thing. To her, you're the angel because there's nobody left in her life. Some of you make children laugh. My wife, whenever we go to a restaurant, the children are like this with her. She's not doing anything. They just, because she's a child, the children keeps looking at her. She's not childish, she's a child. Like if you put Shadi on a bicycle, she just laugh and laugh. She has that kind of a heart. So then children, for some reason, know that she's a child. Because she laughs when she's riding a bicycle. Children pick up on childlike people. Anyways, let's go on to other foundations of happiness. Another one is intention. Intention is the energy behind thoughts, words, and actions. If you ever want to know what determines the quality of what you speak or think, it's the intention. Intention is one step before you act. So for example, when you call your sister up every morning, is it to dump your depression on her or to see how she's doing? Or when you buy somebody a wedding gift, are you wanting to express love or just to shop from the most expensive store to let the bride know that you have money? A Porsche is a very good example. I have a couple of students who have Porsches. So what's your intention in riding a Porsche? You could say, no, I like to have the wind in my hair when I put that top down. I don't polish the car every week. I just like the wind in my hair, and I like the technology of that car. For other people, it's showing up. For a third type, it's like client relations. They want to show it to the client. So I want you to examine your intention. You're running a yoga studio for 10 years. What is the intention behind it?
To get fabulously wealthy.
Okay.
I'm just teasing.
Well, I will tell you, when I run Joy of Life, financial success along with people's progress is what I go for. So I'm not a priest. I'll give you the bad news in the beginning. In other words, thousands of lives have changed, but I charge my tuition. Now, if I realize you don't have any at all and you love the science, you're always my guest. If I sense that. If I sense it, that somebody loves the science and doesn't have the money. But if I sense that I have them come in for $15 and that gives them more poverty consciousness, I'm not going to do it. Because see, some people have poverty consciousness, so they're always looking for the coupons. So then when you give them something free for a coupon, you're just keeping them down. You know, she's 28, full of energy. I need to get her out of that mentality. So be careful about not charging. That's a whole psychology by itself. When Maharishi Mahesh Yogi first came to San Francisco, he charged $15 for the TM initiation. They wrote one article in the Chronicle saying, this